Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a reformed paper map user. I used to have a problem with printed maps. I used to be that guy that collected brochures from every zoo, aquarium, heck, even the corn maze. That all changed when I met Porter. This obsession of mine has been taking a toll on my friends, family, and myself especially. But now I finally have someone I can open up to.
So I've got some ins on this map business, and I found Ben at the Hogle Zoo, map in hand, squinting at the index. And I told him, we have got to get you some better tools. No, we have got to get everyone some better tools.
So we got ourselves a little crew together to figure out just what was wrong with these brochures and PDFs.
After surveying all the different ways that nonprofits like zoos make their maps, I think we've cracked what's missing. Turns out there's a few different inexpensive tools online for making maps with points and shapes. The problem with these is that they don't afford as much creative freedom as making a printed map. And that's why you don't see organizations like zoos use these for their visitor maps. Of course, if you're like the San Diego Zoo, you can afford to pay a contractor to make a fully custom app. But most nonprofits like the Hogle Zoo don't have the spare cash to do that. But you know what nonprofits do have? Is volunteer and staff time, probably. So we decided, what if we make our own interactive map editor with as much creative control as possible, and then we hand it over to the wonderful crews at zoos, botanical gardens, and what such. And we let them make their own maps on their own terms. Let's check it out.
On screen right now, we have a work-in-progress map of the Hogle Zoo. On the right, you can see everything that's on the map, and we're going to go ahead and import a shape that we created previously in a different map and export it. We're now going to go ahead and zoom in on the polar bear habitat. That's what we're going to be working on right now. You can see all the different options for this way that makes up the grassy area of the habitat. We're going to go ahead and make a new node, a new point of interest to represent the polar bear themselves. Set this layer parameter to move it up and down vertically so it ends up on top. Change the other options like the shape and the size, and finally add a label. Say, this is the polar bear. And of course you can change the font size, whatever you want, max customization. Then we're going to go ahead and put the polar bear in their habitat, and to cap it all off, we're going to select all three elements that make up the habitat and group them together into a relation. Now this relation, once we give it a name and later a web page, will show up in the Zoo Patrons viewer as something they can click on, and it'll show up in the list of all attractions and the search and all that great stuff. So now that we have the polar bear, we're going to go ahead and click save, and to show that everything has persisted to the database, we're going to go ahead and reload the page, and it will zoom us right in automatically, and there's our polar bear. So once we've got the polar bear selected, we can go over and click this new web page button, which brings us to the web page editor, where you can drag and drop images, text, buttons, or even entire pre-made templates of, in this case, a hummingbird web page to your liking. Now we're going to go ahead and customize this template. We're going to put on a picture of a polar bear that we've previously uploaded to the website. We're then going to go ahead into this rich text editor component, which is a library that we've embedded, and we're going to change the title and the description, what have you. And then we're going to go down and we're going to make ourselves a donate button. Now we've embedded the rich text editor again here, so you can make all sorts of custom stuff. Right above the button, there's a few different controls. For example, the size, position, alignment of the button, the color. Making customizable sized things on a web page editor like this is quite difficult because you have to make it look good on mobile, desktop, any device anybody could ever have, even a full-size iPad. We're going to go ahead and add a link to the donate button so you can, donate to support the polar bear's new exhibit or whatever. We can go ahead and pop open this web page with the preview button. We can see it looks pretty good on all sorts of device sizes. Obviously, you could test this on a physical phone or iPad too, if you want. And now we're going to go ahead and share our map since we're done with it. We made a QR code link right here, and we're going to make it open the polar bear directly. Now we could also make it just zoom in on the whole map with nothing selected, but we would like to show the user the polar bear. You can make as many of these QR codes as you'd like. Now that you've seen the app, let's talk about how it's made. Our backend is written in C# with ASP.NET Core, and we have it deployed on the AWS cloud via Elastic Beanstalk, and it's connected to an RDS Microsoft SQL Server database. Our front end is a web app, and it's written in JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. The front end has a shared code base with kind of two views into it. There's a view-only client for, say, a Zoo patron, and there's like a editor view / management view client for organizational users. Both of these also connect to an external service to show a background map that's like your satellite layer. So in the database, we model the user's map data using 3 primitives: nodes, ways, and relations. Nodes are individual points. These can be used directly to represent points of interest, or they can be combined together to form ways, which make our lines and polygons. And then nodes and ways can be combined together into a tree to form a relation, which can be used to model more complex objects like an entire building or an entire set of exhibits. This model is inspired by how OpenStreetMap does things, though of course we've implemented everything from scratch and taken plenty of creative freedom making it suit our needs. So that's the concept of our backend. If you have more questions, absolutely do ask us on demo day at our booth. That aside, the whole class used GitLab for Capstone. Our stats are 411 commits on main, 181 GitLab issues created and closed, and a total of 50 API endpoints. Now, we spent all those commits building this entire piece of software from the ground up, which includes the whole front end, including the map renderer. We opted to make that from scratch because the existing Slippy map libraries that are out there don't provide us quite as much flexibility as we'd like. We built the entire database schema, we built the entire API, all the controller endpoints, and we also built out an entire role and permission system to use on top of ASP.NET Core's login management. Now, of course, building an app this big and complicated from scratch means we will encounter every single problem. So thank you to our gracious user feedback providers, of whom we have 7 in total. One of the big feedback items we reacted to was the code that saves change sets to the database, and these can be quite large if you, say, import some pre-made map data into your map. We were able to massively reduce the amount of time that save operation took, and again, just generally smooth out the user experience of what's meant to be a very complex and customization-oriented app. And that's how we made FeedMyZoo.
I hope you're as excited as we are about a future where zoo maps are useful and easy to navigate.
We've had a heck of a time rebuilding the whole map editor concept from the ground up.
And without everybody's contribution, this wouldn't have been possible.
We hope to see you at our booth on Senior Capstone Demo Day. Turns out there's a few different online tools that zoos use to make their map that they don't use them. Turns out they don't use them.
Yeah, that's okay. We got it.
I couldn't breathe. It is so bad.
You are allowed to take breathing breaks.
I know, but I forget. The wonderful people. Is that what I'm gonna say? Wonderful crews?
Crews, people, staff.
Wonderful people. I'm gonna say wonderful people. I like that.
Yeah, wonderful people. Fade to black. All right, one more.
Fade to orange.
Orange is the new black.
Well, it's the tassel color.